All right, everybody, buckle up. We're taking a deep dive today into Chile's automotive market. It's a really a fascinating one, full of surprises and trends, and maybe even a few potholes along the way.
Got that right.
We've got reports from the industry and data reports, also some economic indicators,
Right.
just to make sure we're steering in the right direction. So we're using some recent data from Fleet Mobility today. By the end of this, you're going to understand
Absolutely.
not only what kind of cars people in Chile drive, but like why.
Exactly. I think you'll be fascinated by some of the things you find out because Chile's car market, it's kind of like a puzzle. You know, you've got all these pieces that actually reflect the geography of the country, the culture, and how their economy works too.
All right, so let's start with like the basics. Chile is it's home to almost 20 million people, and it has a GDP, that's gross domestic product, of about 338 billion US dollars.
Wow.
Their economy is really just a mix of everything from agriculture to tourism and even mining. You know, they've got those famous copper reserves.
It's true. Chile's one of the world's leading copper producers.
But here's the thing. For a country of that size, Chile has a really impressive number of vehicles on the road. 6.4 million.
That's a huge number. That actually points to a high rate of car ownership. And it makes sense when you think about Chile's geography. I mean, you've got those long coastlines, the Andes Mountains, these vast deserts.
Wow. Having
a car in Chile is kind of essential. It's how people connect, get around, and how the industries there can get support.
Yeah, so it's like their version of Route 66, but with
Definitely.
way more intense scenery.
Absolutely.
But hold on, there's a twist. Even though Chile's economy is doing pretty well, new vehicle registrations actually went down in 2024. What's up with that?
Well, I think it could be a few things. Maybe there's a bit of, economic uncertainty in the air, and that could be making people a little bit cautious about spending a lot of money, especially on a new car. Or it could be a shift in what customers are looking for. Maybe there's more interest in buying used vehicles, or using ride sharing, or even, looking at those more sustainable ways to get around.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so let's dive into what Chileans actually are buying. Get ready for this one. Almost half of all the vehicles sold in 2024 SUVs.
You're telling me the SUV trend, it's global at this point, but in Chile, I really think their unique landscape plays a big role.
Yeah.
I mean, picture yourself driving through the Andes or the Atacama Desert.
Oh, wow.
You're probably going to want a car that makes you feel safe and can, handle all that rough terrain.
Absolutely. So it's not just about keeping up with, the Joneses. It's about having a vehicle that can actually, conquer these epic landscapes.
Totally.
Okay, so let's get into brands. At the top of the charts, we see some familiar names. We've got Toyota in the lead,
of course,
followed by Hyundai, Chevrolet, Suzuki, and then Kia. It seems like Asian manufacturers are really dominating the Chilean market.
They are. It's a trend we see in many markets around the world, actually.
Yeah, and if we take a look at the top 5 models, it's interesting because we see a mix of passenger cars and pickups, which kind of shows us how diverse the needs are in Chile.
Right, different vehicles for different purposes.
So who's the champion of the Chilean roads? Drum roll, please.
Haha.
It's the Toyota Hilux.
No surprise there.
This pickup truck, it's practically a legend, known for being, super reliable, and it can just go anywhere.
It really can. The Hilux is like a workhorse, It's used in agriculture, mining, construction, basically any industry where you need something durable and versatile.
Wow.
But it's also really popular with families and people who love adventure because it can handle both city streets and off-roading.
Yeah, for sure. So it's the ultimate multitasker.
You could say that.
On the passenger car side, though, the Chevrolet Groove takes the crown. But here's something that might surprise you. There aren't any major car manufacturers that actually have factories in Chile.
That's right. They rely completely on imported vehicles, which can be good and bad. I mean, on the one hand, it can affect how much vehicles cost there. It can cause some delays.
Oh, yeah. And what about, the environmental impact, of shipping all those vehicles over the ocean?
That's a valid point. As Chile starts to think about its future, they're going to need to consider those factors very carefully, especially if they want to encourage production within the country or look at different fuel sources.
That makes sense. Well, speaking of fuel, let's talk about how much it costs to keep all those cars running. In Chile, gasoline is about $1.27 a liter.
Okay.
And diesel is around 98 cents.
Not cheap.
Yeah, that's definitely not pocket change.
Not at all, especially when you compare it to what gas costs in other countries. And I think these higher prices might be another reason why those fuel-efficient cars are so popular there.
The pieces of the puzzle are coming together.
Exactly.
And just for fun, did you know that electricity in Chile costs about 16 cents per kilowatt hour for people at home, but only 13 cents for businesses?
That's interesting.
Kind of makes you wonder.
It does. It could mean that, the government is trying to encourage businesses to grow and support economic development. Lower energy costs can really help attract businesses, right?
Makes sense. So what have we learned from our little Chilean road trip? Seems like SUVs are the favorites, pickups are like the workhorses of the nation,
That's a good way to put it.
and Toyota's sitting pretty at the top of those sales charts.
Exactly. But our journey does leave us with a pretty big question. Since Chile doesn't have any car manufacturing within its own borders, how do we think their automotive landscape is going to change in the future?
It's a good question.
Will we see more electric cars? Will new companies come into the market and bring new ideas and technologies?
Only time will tell. Now you guys have all the knowledge you need to keep up with what happens and see how the car market in Chile keeps developing. It's an exciting story, and we'll definitely be keeping our eyes on the road.
Absolutely. Buckle up.
Thanks for listening, everybody,
Thanks, everyone.
and we'll catch you next time.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Fleet Mobility Today.